Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a Books Beside My Bed video where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in the second week of my school holidays, so there's a few things to get through and a couple of review titles that came in, so we're going to try and move through things as quickly as possible. And for anyone who's new here, the way that I talk about the books is any review titles first, then any kids, middle fiction or young adult titles, and then I go into the adult titles, so everything's timestamped down below. Earlier this week I received 2 review titles from Scribble Kids Books, which is an independent children's publisher here in Australia, and they sent me 2 beautiful books. The first one being Party Rhyme by Antonia Pesenti. This one is a board book. It is a rhyming book, so it's really great for listening for patterns in words and sounds. Bright, it's colourful, and the way that it works is that you have a page which has something that you would find at a birthday, like birthday balloons, and you have the illustration to match, but then it flips out into a 3-page spread, and then you have a rhyme. So birthday balloons, birthday baboons. And so the image matches the text. And it goes like that the whole way through the book. Like, it's a really fun story. This is perfect for really young readers. It's also really great for the early stages of primary school as well, because you have the rhyming words in there. So I thoroughly enjoyed reading this one. It was really, really fun, and I was so delighted when it arrived. I don't know if anyone follows me on Instagram on either of my accounts, but I actually shared the unboxing of this over on my Kidlit Joy channel because the packaging was amazing. The books came wrapped and there was a little party blower as well. I don't often get fancy PR packages, so that made my heart happy. The second book that Scribble Kids Books sent me was How We Share Cake by Kim Hyu-eun, and this one is translated by Deborah Smith, so it was originally written in Korean. This one is the story of 5 siblings, and it's how they share everything in their life. As you do when you're a sibling, everything gets divided up amongst you, whether it's food or clothing or toys, time, etc. All of that gets shared up when you have multiple siblings. So it really is very much a story about fairness and what constitutes fairness and justice amongst the siblings. The narrator of the story is also one of the children, and throughout the course of the book they have an accident while sharing a scooter, and so suddenly they find themselves with some time and experiences that are just their own, and then how they're also then able to bring their siblings into that to share that as well, which was just delightful. It's got a really gorgeous illustrative style. I love the simplicity of it, and also while it has been translated into English, it does include the Korean terms for siblings in here as well, which is really cool. So there's a little bit of dual language in here as well, which is always really cool to see. I had never heard of this book and I was utterly delighted to read it. It is so gorgeous. All right, then moving into some middle fiction titles that I read Smile and Sisters by Raina Telgmeier, which are middle fiction graphic novels. These are 2 books that I had pulled out of my Kindle Star Jar for the month of October, so I read them pretty much straight away. These are kind of autobiographies of Raina Telgmeier's life growing up with her family. In Smile, it is about all the dental work that she had done when she was involved in an accident and she lost her 2 front teeth. And it's the struggles of being a preteen, that age group, going through when you do not look like everyone else, when everyone knows that something happened to your teeth, and the struggles of having to wear so much dental headgear, which I've been there, so I totally get that. And Sisters is then about her relationship with her younger sister. And as someone who has a sister relationships are not always the easiest things to manage. So again, it's very relatable. It's very recognizable. There's also a lot of other things going on with the family. She and her sister and her brother and her mother are on the way to a family reunion and meeting people that they haven't seen in a very, very long time. You have all of those family dynamics. They're really fun. I can see why kids really enjoy them. And the illustrations are really bright and colourful as well. And then I have one young adult title, which is The Conspiracy of Kings by Megan Whalen Turner, which is the 4th book in the Queen's Thief series. I am reading all of these books as part of the Queen's Thief read-along. I am a couple of books ahead just because the first 4 books all came in available through my local library, so I just read them because they were available. I do have books 5 and 6 as audio, but I had to purchase them because they weren't available through my library, so I will save those for closer to the read-along dates. 4 books in, it's really kind of hard to explain the full plot of the story because it gives a lot away for the previous 3 books. However, it is a young adult political fantasy, and this time we are reunited with Sophos, who is a character we met in book 1 but haven't really seen anything of since. And in A Conspiracy of Kings, he finds himself suddenly in the role of ruler. He now has the title of king, and he has to learn what that means and how to maneuver all of the court politics, because there is a lot of things going on. Jen is in this book being Jen and doing exactly what you would expect him to do. Antonia and Edis are huge parts of the story as well. And so a lot of it is, one, what happened to Sophos between the last time we saw him and now. We get a bit of a history update at the start of the book, very much a narration style, as Sophos is telling one of the other characters what has happened. Then the rest of the story is how they all figure out their place in all of their roles and their relationship as either friends or partners or a combination of both. So it's a really, really interesting story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm still loving the audiobooks and I'm looking forward to continuing to the next books very soon. And then I have something a little bit different, because I believe last week I did mention that I went down a 911 rabbit hole, and I have in 3 weeks watched 7 seasons of 911 and 4 seasons of 911 Lone Star, and also started rewatching 911 and read a bucket load of fanfic, because as much as I love Buck and Eddie, I have become a massive Buck and Tommy fan, and so I've gone down that rabbit hole as well of fanfic, which I have not done in a very, very, very long time, a distressingly long time. Was I tempted to consider start writing again? Maybe, but not really, because I don't have the time. And clearly other people are doing a much better job of writing things. I don't feel the need to fill that void. But I did want to mention there is one story that I'm currently reading. It's currently at 15 chapters out of 15 out of 23 maybe. So it's currently sitting at over 93,000 words. So it feels long enough to mention in here. And that is What Are Your Intentions, which is a Buck and Tommy fanfic. I'll leave a link to it down below because I forgot to write down the author's name. It's a story that literally follows and tracks initially all of the initial meetings and set up for Tommy and Buck, and then develops into its own story moving forward. And it's utterly delightful. The author has got the character voices and behavior down amazing. Like it's great. So I'm thoroughly enjoying that, and I will be continuing to read it, and hopefully it will be fully uploaded and finished relatively soon. There's also a stack of other really short ones that I've just downloaded and thrown onto my Kindle because I really enjoyed them. So yay, more reading. Then I read books 6 and 7 in the Bold Brew series. So book 6 is Silky Smooth, and this one is by A.M. Arthur. And this is about 2 men who meet when one of them accidentally rescues an emotional support parrot that escapes while the other is out of town. So the emotional support parrot's name is Calamity, or Cal. Nicholas finds Calamity outside one day when he's at Bold Brew buying coffee. He knows that this must be someone's pet, but can't find the owner, so he puts up a little flyer at the coffee shop saying, hey look, I've got the parrot, if it's yours, contact me. And so that's how he meets Alex. This is an age gap romance and does deal with topics surrounding an abusive ex, abusive parents and bullying, but is just very short and sweet as these 2 characters find each other, and the emotional support parrot was delightful. And then Fair Trade is book 7 in the Bold Brew series, and this one is an workplace romance between 2 paramedics who actually meet before they realise that they're actually going to be working together. It starts out as a one-night stand, and it is very much a rookie and a veteran kind of relationship. I enjoyed this one because this tied into my 911 craze at the moment anyway, and it kind of helped that it did actually show the first responders doing their job, which you'll find out in a couple of weeks. I have another video coming. Ironically, does not happen as often as you would think in a first responders romance. But anyway, it kind of starts out as this forbidden romance, as all the characters think that they can't be in a relationship within the workplace, and as it turns out towards the end, you find out that there's actually a lot more going on than you would have thought. I had fun. The younger character here is much more of the dominant character, which is always a really fun dynamic to explore. It was honestly one of the books in the series that I enjoyed the most so far, outside of Cinnamon Roll, which is the first book that I read from the series. So yes, I'm interested in continuing that. I think I've only got 2 more books to go. One of them is over 500 pages and the other is like 200. So I'm probably going to jump to book 10 and then I'll go back to book 8 and finish that off. Then I read Chase Me by Shayna Astor. This one is a Primal Play Halloween story. It's a contemporary story. It takes place at Halloween. A friend group does a scavenger hunt, which kind of turns a bit violent because the female protagonist is being targeted by another female protagonist, which honestly I could have done without that plot point. That didn't really enhance the story in any way. However, Viv has had the biggest crush on Jasper, and it turns out that that feeling is reciprocated, and he chases her through the dark woods while they're doing this Halloween scavenger hunt. So it's only 78 pages. Their story I really liked. I also read Trick or Treat: The Babysitters from Hell by E. Bowser, which is a super short 34-page story. This one is this one really didn't have that much romance in it from what I remember. It was mostly kind of a urban fantasy, Halloween, horror-y kind of story. It's about a family of demons, one of whom is babysitting a horde of small children, and they take them to a trunk or treat event, potentially in hell. I can't remember. Anyway, there are vampires, there are werewolf shifters. There's a whole bunch of things going on. It's very short. It wasn't my favorite thing that I read this week, but it wasn't bad by any means. I finally read Archangel's Lineage by Nalini Singh, which is book 16 in the Guild Hunters series, and I had a great time with this. We're back with Elena and Raphael as our point of view characters, and it is the calm after the storm, or in this case, the calm before the storm. So in previous books, we finally wrapped up this big war thing that was going on, and we're back, and it's a time of peace, and all of the archangels in the cadre are really disturbed by how calm it has been, because it's never been calm in their last lifetime, especially for the younger archangels. They're getting ready to sort of have this celebration together, and suddenly there are these earthquakes that are beginning to happen, and they realize that something else is going on. There's kind of this power imbalance thing that's happening, and it's affecting the rest of the world. And so they're trying to race to find out what it is and how they can stop it. And alongside that, Elena's father has a heart attack and is hospitalized, and so she's also dealing with that and having to come to terms with her relationship with her father. There's a bit of reconciliation going on their part. We also meet a bunch of new characters who pop up, which was great, including Marduk, who is a character that I just loved. I would like to see more of him in a future book. So it's a bit of Archangel politics. It's a bit of characters recognizing that maybe the way things have been don't have to be that way. That kind of art of compromise amongst leaders. And they have to work together a lot in this book, which I really liked. It felt like a much quieter book than some of the previous ones. Like you're just kind of moving through the story, which I know not everyone will like. There's a lot of things happening, but it doesn't feel necessarily like an action story. I started reading it and I couldn't put it down. I felt like just at peace reading it, which was really nice. So now I just need to read Primal Mirror, and then I'm caught up on Nalini Singh for this year. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is Foul is Fair by Elisse, which is a surprise favorite from this week. So I actually picked this book up at a book signing event where I met Elisse, and I just wanted to try a book of hers. I didn't know anything about them, and this is the first book in her Something Wicked series. I did not know it was a paranormal romance set in Melbourne. It's an Australian paranormal romance set in Australia, and I'm thoroughly delighted by that. So it is a single POV story told from the perspective of Rory, who is a witch. She used to be a witch who would hunt down sort of magical creatures who were going rogue, but she had a case that went wrong, and one of her very, very good friends, so close that he was a brother to her, was killed, and so this deeply affected her, and so she has switched lines of work. She has left Ballarat and come to Melbourne to join a witch coven that kind of act as, well, their title is caretakers. They're kind of like social workers for the supernatural community. She's new in the role. She's trying to find her feet, and she finds out that she has a caseload of werewolves or lycanthropes, and the lycanthropes were involved in the accident where her friend was killed, and so she has a tenuous relationship with lycanthropes at the best of times, but they're part of her caseload, so she kind of has to get over that. Her boss is at best incompetent and at worst criminally negligent, and he is a wizard, and he drives absolutely everyone nuts because he pretends like he's a feminist and that he's woke, and he's not really, and we are left questioning whether he is a good guy and sort of neutral kind of character or the bad guy of the story, and I won't say which because you need to read it to find out. Regardless, Rory finds herself tangled up with the lycanthropes, and in particular Bayo, who is the pack alpha, and they're in a relationship, and it's not, this first book kind of sets all of it up, but it's not easy, and Rory makes quite a few mistakes within the book as she's trying to figure out how to balance the two roles that she's played in her life. The story was really easy to read. Rory is a very take no prisoners kind of character, and straight away at the start of the book she's ready to burn things down to the ground. Again, something that I can appreciate in a book. However, she's also building friendships and relationships with the people that she's working with now, including a police detective and her other co-workers, and it was really an enjoyable read. This one is not very long. The second one I think is maybe 100 pages longer. I have already bought that one as an ebook, so I will be reading that very soon. I will just say for this one, you do have content warnings for sexism, sexual assault, family violence, transphobia and xenophobia. All of them are portrayed in a negative light. Like, these are not things that should be existing or happening in this world, but they are mentioned, so just be aware of that. But yeah, this was a surprise delight for the week, and I'm grateful for that. And those are the books that I read this week. In the comments, feel free to let me know if you've read any of them, or if you're planning on picking them up, or if you would like to share a book that you have really read and loved this week. Let me know that down below as well. If you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave an angel wing emoji to let me know that you're here. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.